All right, folks, great to see everyone. Thanks for coming. There is a lot on this slide, so let's take it piece by piece. July was hot not only for Arizona, but really across the West and the Southwest. Several weather stations experienced their hottest July ever. Those are the stations in the dark red on the map. Other stations experienced their second hottest July, and those are the stations in the bright red on that map. Most of those bright red stations had already had their record hottest July last year. The trends we see across the state are showing up just not only in our state, but across the West and the Southwest. I'm sure you all remember last July when Phoenix hit the hottest monthly temperature for any US city. It was 102.7. That was the average monthly temperature for Phoenix. And that again was the hottest for any US city. That number is calculated by looking at all the max daily temperatures during the month, as well as all the minimum temperatures at night. With those statistics, it's kind of hard to crack into an average monthly temperature of 100 degrees or more. This year, Phoenix had its second average July temperature over 100 degrees. It reached 101.1 degrees. Palm Springs had their first ever monthly temperature in the 100-degree club, and so did Blythe. Needles, which is over by Lake Havasu City, actually had an even hotter monthly temperature this July. They hit 103.2. So now Needles took over the record as the hottest July temperature for any US city. Vegas came close to joining the 100-degree club, but ended just shy with an average monthly temperature of 99.9 degrees. So far this year, Phoenix has experienced a total of 46 days of 110 degrees or higher and 32 nights that didn't cool off below 90 degrees. These are approaching record numbers, so we'll keep watching to see what happens. So, some better news. Fortunately, the state is on the downslide of hotter temperatures. For Phoenix, the hottest temperature ever recorded in August was 117 degrees. The hottest in September was 116 degrees. So there's also good news that the state precipitation is doing much better this monsoon than last monsoon. Southern counties, Apache County on the east side of Arizona, they're doing great. The central Mogollon Rim is looking good. Western counties, though, are still really dry. Maricopa County, Graham, Greenlee, southern Navajo County, parts of Gila County and Coconino County, those are all really below average so far for the monsoon season. This time, as the monsoon season, as we're heading in, this is when we start paying attention to perhaps tropical systems that can impact our state. We're not seeing anything on the horizon for that, but you can recall Norbert 10 years ago. So September 8th, 2014, that ended up with over 3 inches of rain in the Phoenix rain gauge, statistically exceptionally high precipitation across the state. So things to know what we call that. We call that a 1,000-year precipitation event because that amount of rain doesn't statistically happen very often. So not expecting it this year, but always more to watch and pay attention to. So now let's zoom into county level records for July. La Paz, Mojave, Yuma counties all experienced their hottest July on record. Most records go back 130 years, but Yuma records actually go back to 1876. Coconino County tied their latest July as the hottest July on record. Most other counties had their second hottest July this year, coming in just below last year's records. This July was also the second hottest July for the state. Last year was the hottest July statewide. So now let's head into that precipitation. July ranked as the 35th driest July on record for the state. So what that lands into is like the bottom 25% of the records. Navajo County had their 13th driest July. Yuma had their 17th driest July. Graham had their 20th driest. And Coconino County actually ended up with their 21st driest July. What that means is they got less than half their normal July precipitation. So this is just looking at the first little bit of August. So August continues to be hot in most locations. You can see that with the orange maps that I described. And so far, the August precipitation is looking better in Yuma County and most of Coconino County. So we're still really dry in La Paz. We're still really dry in Mojave, Maricopa, Graham, Greenlee counties, but see what we can get to. Heading into the water year. So the water year, just about every month this water year, all across the state, has been hot, above average. Just a reminder that a water year, it runs from October 1st to September 30th, and that's how we manage water in Arizona and the United States. You can see that the southern tier has been doing okay. So that green in that map, doing okay for the water year with precipitation in some areas. Then you can see that up in the northeast as well. However, the northwest, so head over to Mojave County there, that's really continued to be very dry. So kind of what that looks at when we're looking at that precipitation, statewide precipitation last year. Let's pop into last year. Water year 2023 ended just about average. And that really only happened because winter 2023 was really wet. So even though last monsoon, last summer was dry, water year 2023 was kind of able to balance out. Arizona had a somewhat wet winter this year in 2024, and that's allowed the water year to kind of hang slightly about near average. But that changed in July, where the statewide water year precipitation to date dropped below average. We still have August and September to see if we can get back to at least average levels, but we'll have to wait and see. So looking at short-term drought maps, the drier areas from this summer are starting to increase the moderate short-term drought. That's the light brown areas on the map. Right now, it's covering 19% of the state. The white areas are locations without any drought, and we're starting to see that decrease and get replaced by those yellow areas. Those yellow areas are abnormally dry conditions. The severe short-term drought, that orangish color, that remains entrenched in the southeast corner of the state, about 2% of the state for that. The way that Arizona assesses long-term drought, it's unique. It's unique to our state. It's unique to the country. We evaluate not only precipitation, but we also take into account and evaluate temperature impacts. That's what the SPEI takes into account. So it's not only our long-term drought impacted by lack of precipitation, but it's also looking at the hot conditions, the hot drought that we are dealing with. Because when hotter temperatures happen, it makes a thirstier atmosphere. So just as a side note, we've added some other features to the long-term drought map to make it easier to understand. We've added some significant cities, and also you can see the 22 tribal areas in the state. So now let's take a look at some outlooks. August looks to end the month hotter than normal, but hopefully end with normal amounts of precipitation. We'll have to see what happens there. And then looking at September, unfortunately, the outlook for September wants to keep Arizona hot and dry. Taking a look at transitioning into La Nina, it's been a long slog trying to get that transition from El Nino to get into La Nina, and we're not there yet. And so neutral conditions, they're still present in the equatorial Pacific. There's a 66% chance that La Nina will develop this fall. We pay attention to this because La Nina statistically brings drier winters to Arizona. So we want to keep watching that transition. All right, that's what I have to talk about for those details. I do want to introduce our guest speakers. And this, just a little bit of background. The Student Weather Club at ASU, it's really actually fairly new. I think not even 5 years. But the students in this club have already done exceptional things. They just recently advanced their club as an American Meteorological Society student chapter. What that does is it provides a lot of opportunities for them. The Weather Club brings outreach to the community, and the members do all sorts of fun things. They're sitting there watching the movie Twisters right in through there. And Amanda and Kayla are both in that slide. I don't think we can see a Kayla. Oh yeah, there you are. Amanda and Kayla both had a fairly busy summer. They work with the National Weather Service, but they've done much more than that. So I think it'll be interesting to see where they're going to be taking meteorology. Amanda will be graduating in spring, and then Kayla will be the club president next year. We're going to have Kayla talk first. So I'm going to go ahead and stop share and let Kayla come on in.
Hello. And can everyone see the presentation here?
There, it's perfect. Perfect. Kayla, go for it.
Great. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla McDonald. I'm a meteorology student at Arizona State University. I am also a double major in broadcast journalism, and I am going for an atmospheric sciences and GIS certificates. In my presentation, I'll be looking at my 2 to 3 year weather career outlook as I am going into my junior year of college. So I have a little bit left to go, and as any weather outlook, I'll be looking for what my future may hold, but as any forecast, it's subject to change, so we'll see. So as an ASU student, what have I been up to? My freshman year, I joined the ASU Weather Club. I got a job at Weather Rate Incorporated. I volunteered at the co-op station at ASU, and I was a part of an Arizona PBS weather story. And my sophomore year, I was the science mission director for the ASU Ascend program, which is funded through NASA's space grant. And I became a teaching assistant for the Introduction to Physical Geography class. And by the end of my sophomore year, I am excited because I became the vice president of the Weather Club for next semester. Over the summer, I was able to volunteer at the National Weather Service Phoenix office with Amanda. During my time there, I shadowed the meteorologists while they were working. I created messaging graphics. I ran the social media pages. I organized the Storm Spotter database, redesigned the Storm Spotter newsletter, launched weather balloons, and answered the Storm Spotter and public calls. Off to the right of my slide here, there's some graphics that I made and a little video of me launching a balloon. It's pretty fun. So my outlook for what I think my future might hold. So while I have 2 to 3 years left of classes, I plan on keeping an open mind to all meteorology career options like broadcast meteorology, independent companies, or the US military. But I hope to end up working for the National Weather Service in the future. Right now, that is more of my plan, especially after volunteering there. I like seeing the operations. Meteorology is definitely one of my passions, and I didn't realize how involved the National Weather Service was with so many different things. I knew they probably helped with fires or they were connected with the airport, but the National Weather Service really gives the airport like forecasts for helping them direct their runways during storm events, as well as for fires. They do things called spot forecasts for specific areas to help the fires. And that's something that I found a really cool interest in. So my tips for navigating college is take opportunities. As I've gone through my first 2 years of college, they're all over the place. So the variety of things that I did, it's not all in like one topic. Like I was able to help with a PBS story, which is more for broadcasting purposes. And I also did something to help with NASA. It's like broadening the horizon of things that I didn't realize that meteorology was in so many different things until I took these opportunities to see what was happening. And along with that is I had to get out of my comfort zone. Being the science mission director as a second year student, I was hesitant to take the opportunity, but I decided to take it to see what it was like, and I ended up loving it. And I got to see how they would build. What the program did is they build the payloads that got launched, and then I got to analyze that data and connect it to the science mission that I had created, and it was really fun. So when I'm looking at the big picture of taking also these opportunities and classes, external things, it can make college a little overwhelming at times. So what I did as my best advice is just take it each day. Go each day as a time, and over that period, you will complete your goals. It doesn't, when you look at the big scope, it doesn't have to be all done right there, right then. You can go each day, take a chip off that block, and you will get where you want to go. And be open-minded to things that may not go according to plan. I came into college saying that broadcast might be my end goal, and clearly that has changed. I think the National Weather Service might be my end goal. And like any weather outlook, it can change based on the conditions. So thank you all so much. Are there any questions?
That was really great, Kayla. Tell us more. What was you did the payload? What were you doing there?
Yeah, so go back to here. So with ASU's Ascend program, it's where there are mechanical, electrical, and programming students who all build like in the National Weather Service, their radio sonades that get launched to collect the weather data. Those students build those from scratch, and they make the box that they launch, and they program the circuit boards and do all of that. And then there was the last team, which was what I was a part of, which was the science mission team. And what I did was I created a like a project for the purpose of launching it, and I wanted to compare what the different launch sites would look like. And I was going to compare it to Flagstaff and Tucson's balloon launches, because we had launched from Quartzsite, and to see how those soundings would look different from each other.
Quartzsite. Oh, that was excellent. Thank you so much, Kayla. And we'll go ahead and bring in our next guest speaker, Amanda. So I'll let you folks go ahead and share screen how you need to as we're getting transitioned over. Launching the balloon from Quartzsite, though, I want to see those data. That is awesome. All right, here comes Amanda. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Saffel. Can everyone see this?
Yep, looks great. Go for it.
All right, perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda, and I'm going to chat about what my volunteer experience with the National Weather Service was like this summer and what I think the future of meteorology will be. So I guess just a little background about me. I am a senior at Arizona State University studying geography with an emphasis in meteorology and climatology. And I've also completed certificates in atmospheric sciences and GIS. I'm extremely involved in the Weather and Climate Club. I've been the marketing director, vice president, and then this year I'm the president, and I'm very excited about that. And like Dr. Saffel was saying earlier, we are also now a student chapter of the AMS. And I'm also a member of the National Weather Association. And to any students out there, I really highly recommend getting involved with these professional memberships. There are discounted student rates, and also being involved at the local level is really good for networking. And it also provides you those opportunities to go to national conferences every year. And then when it comes to more of my volunteering and internship experience, I have been a weather observer for the ASU co-op station for a few years now. Last year, I participated in a Kappa Heat Watch campaign in Sedona, where we looked at the urban heat island in Sedona. You can see this map right here that we were able to create using these little instruments that we drove around Sedona throughout the day. And then all of my experience volunteering for the climate office led me to become their student worker this past spring. And that was really fun. I spent the semester organizing climate records from 1895 to the present, and helping with various research projects that the office was working on. And then that brings me to my experience with the National Weather Service. I was previously involved as a Skywarn storm spotter for the past couple of years. And then this summer, I had the amazing opportunity to be a student volunteer. So what does the day in the life of a student volunteer look like? A lot of it was shadowing meteorologists as they did their job because I wasn't allowed access to AWIPS, which is the Advanced Weather Interactive Processing System. So I watched as people completed their forecasts, wrote their forecast discussions, and used the radar, satellite, and other data to make warning decisions. There were daily internal briefings where everyone in the office would discuss the current weather patterns and how it would impact that day's forecast and messaging. And then there were also weekly fire weather briefings where they would meet virtually with emergency managers, the Forest Service, and if we had an incident meteorologist at the time or an IMET, we would talk to them. And then actually one of my most memorable experiences as a volunteer was taking a trip to Nogales for a tabletop exercise for the Department of Emergency and Military Affairs. They were running a simulated disaster exercise to figure out what their response plan would be for a hypothetical Category 4 hurricane impacting the southern region of the state. And it was really fascinating to learn about their emergency management procedures. And then SRP funds the balloon launches for the Phoenix office, and there's normally someone who does the 12Z or 5 a.m. sounding every day. But if the office wanted more information in the afternoon, like if they thought there were going to be storms making it to the lower desert, then I would go out and launch another balloon just before 5 p.m. I love field work and working with my hands, so this was probably my favorite task of the internship. And then when it comes to gathering storm reports, the National Weather Service tries to verify as many of their warnings as possible. So during and after the storm events, I would take storm spotter calls, and then I would comb through social media and the internet for reports of hail or wind damage or anything that would help verify those severe thunderstorm warnings. I helped create graphics and post them to social media. And then I was also able to complete some web-based training that meteorologists have to go through in their first few years on the job. So I did some of the warning operations course and then the radar and applications course. And then what do I think is the future of meteorology? Something I noticed is that the National Weather Service is moving away from calling their shift workers forecasters to calling them meteorologists. Models are becoming really accurate to the point where meteorologists barely have to make any tweaks to the output, mainly to account for like local complexities. And there is ongoing research involving AI and machine learning to improve the models further. So with this, meteorologists are able to focus more on analyzing and interpreting the model output and communicating that information with the public rather than just weather prediction. I noticed that the Phoenix office specifically is really focused on explaining probabilistic forecasts to the public. So because the general public doesn't really understand probabilities or what like a 30% chance of rain is. So that is really important for them to help kind of explain that uncertainty in the forecasting process. And then the Probabilistic Impact-Based Decision Support Services Initiative is a priority initiative for the Weather Service. Like I was saying, with meteorologists spending more time on science communication, they're working on building stronger relationships with their core partners, such as emergency managers and first responders, and helping to offer better decision support. And this is helping the National Weather Service with their goal of building a weather and climate ready nation. And then also at the end of the day, students are the future of the National Weather Service. I included this really cute picture of me at my first science fair project because I was really passionate about atmospheric sciences. And by the time I got to college, I had kind of not really lost interest in it, but I didn't have the support. My school didn't really have a good strong earth sciences program. So I believe that education is really important. I'm really passionate about that education, and I love what the State Climate Office does. And I'd like to see more of like outreach to children and to the community from the National Weather Service. And then what is my advice to other students? Don't create limiting narratives about yourself. For some reason, I told myself I was bad at math and I thought that I couldn't be a meteorologist because I really hated math. But I realized that that's a limiting narrative. I just needed to put in a little extra work to learn that math and figure it out better. And also Something I learned at the National Weather Service is that they don't use calculus and differential equations in their day-to-day operations. Obviously, it's important to have an understanding of the math behind the atmospheric processes and models, but honestly, a lot of their job is looking at maps and communicating their probabilistic forecasts. So I ended up feeling much better after my internship. Another advice is that don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm a pretty independent person, so I didn't learn this lesson until I got to college. All of your professors are there for you and they want to help you succeed. If you're having trouble with something, just communicate that with your professors. They're extremely passionate about what they teach and they want you to be as excited as they are. And then also, kind of like Kayla was saying, try everything. Say yes to as many opportunities as you can, meet as many people as you can. You'll never know what might help you find your niche and open doors to your future career. And then also, I kind of included this one, pay attention in synoptics. Synoptic meteorology was hands down the most important class I've ever taken. The daily weather discussions, the tabletop exercise, the speed tests, and all of the information you learn in that class directly mirrors the operations of the National Weather Service. So I was grateful every day of my internship that I had taken synoptic beforehand. All right, does anyone have any questions?
Oh, that was really excellent. Both of you guys are amazing. I think those tabletop exercises, they're done in a variety of different arenas and they're really, really helpful. So I'm glad you had that experience. My question for you is, every weather service office kind of has a different focus. For example, our office here, PSR, we really pay attention to heat. We also have heavy, intense precipitation events for flash flooding. Is there a station that would be ideal for you? What kind of weather events are you interested in forecasting for?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I have always loved the monsoon season. I grew up in Phoenix, so that was like a big part of me becoming interested in meteorology. So I do love the desert Southwest. I would be totally open to working in Arizona and working more with the monsoon season. But I also am really interested in hydrology and I like kind of the intersection, like hydrometeorology, the overlap between those two disciplines. So, I mean, it would be really nice to work somewhere that maybe had a bit more of a hydrologic aspect to it, some more rivers and streams and stuff like that.
Well, that was excellent. Thank you very much for your help. Thank you, Kayla, for your help. I'm going to stop the recording now and hope everyone has a good day.